Hey, this is Rick Casale from exercisesforinjuries.com and Balance Training Handbook. I wanted to welcome you to the Balance Training Handbook. So this is the first video in the program, and before we get to the exercises in stage 1, just let me go through an overview of the program and how the program would work. So there's 4 stages in this program, and what you would do is you would either select the stage that is appropriate for you, or start off at stage 1 and work your way through each of the stages. Roughly how long you would stay at each of the stages depends on how well your balance improves, but if we're looking for a rough time frame, I would say about 2 to 4 weeks. Now, looking at each of the different stages, what we've gone through is stage 1 is sitting on a stable chair, and that's what Jenna's doing. The second stage is sitting on a stability ball, so that's sitting on an unstable surface. Then the third stage is in standing, and then the fourth one is in dynamic standing. So we're going through different movements. So as I said, you can pick what level you're at, or start at stage 1 and work your way up through stage 4, looking at, seeing how you progress to the next one, or staying at each of the stages roughly 2 to 4 weeks. Now, how often you can do each of these exercises, you can go through these exercises every day. What I would suggest is go through them once a day, but you can go through them every single day, these exercises. Is there anything else? We're good? Okay, so let's go through stage 1. So stage 1, how this is going to work is I'll chat, and then Jenna's going to go through the exercises, and then after this video we're going to go through a follow along video where Jenna goes through the exercises and you can follow her do the exercises. Okay, so the first one is shoulder rolls or postural practice. So I'll get Jenna to go through 2 repetitions, and then I'll kind of go through in detail. Okay, perfect. So looking at the setup, we're on a stable chair. Jenna's moved towards the front half of the chair. So she's sitting, looking at the legs. Legs are underneath the hips. So knees aren't together, so legs are underneath the hips. She's sitting nice and tall, head, shoulders, hips, nice straight line alignment, or she can start off slouchy. Then we're going to go into the shoulder roll, so moving into that good posture, and then rolling the shoulders back, and then holding that end position, ear, shoulder, hips, for a second or 2, and then we can go slouchy again or relax, and then moving into the next repetition. Perfect. So looking at the sets, reps, time, and intensity and purpose. So the sets are 1, repetitions are 10, time, smooth controlled movement with a good stop at the end position. Intensity is light, and the purpose of this is to work on your posture and improving your posture, because the more that you can stay in good alignment and good upper body posture, it'll help when it comes to preventing you from falling or losing your balance. One reason why people lose their balance is they're not centered, or they don't have good posture, and their weight or body position is too far forward, and that increases the risk of losing your balance or falling. Okay, that's the first exercise. Now moving on to the second exercise. The second exercise is seated core activation. So I'll get Jenna to go through 2 repetitions, and then I'll break it down again. Okay, good. So we're in the same starting position. We have the stable chair. Jenna's moved to the front half of the chair. Knees are underneath the hips. Knees aren't together, so legs are underneath the hips. Nice and tall, head, shoulders, hips, in a nice straight line. And then what Jenna's doing is she's tightening up her abdominal area, and in a kind of a good cue is like if someone was going to punch you in the stomach, you're bracing for that punch. Now looking at how hard you should contract, you're contracting about 10 to 25% of maximum. So you're not contracting as hard as you can. You want to activate those muscles in the abdominal area. And then you're going to hold that contraction for about 5 seconds. Now, another thing is you should be able to keep breathing. You're not holding your breath when you're contracting your abdominal area. So that's why it's only 10 to 20%. If you go as hard as you can, tighten everything up, then it's difficult to breathe. So abdominal area should tighten up. 10 to 25% of maximum, and you should be able to keep breathing and talking, and then you go through a couple repetitions of this exercise. But breaking it specifically down, the sets, reps, time, intensity, and purpose. So sets would be 1, repetitions would be 5, time would be 5 seconds, so you're holding the contraction for 5 seconds. Intensity we talked about, 10 to 25% of maximum, and the purpose of this is to work on improving your core. And the reason why is what they have found with research is that one of the main reasons why people lose their balance or fall is because they have poor core activation, endurance, and strength. And that poor core makes it more difficult for you to control your upper body and your lower body. So a common mistake that's done in balance training programs is everything is focused on the lower body or standing or balancing, on one leg. But what you need to do is you need to spend some time working on improving your core, and that'll help prevent poor balance, losing your balance, or falls. Okay, moving on to the third one. This is seated sit-up. So I'll get Jenna to go through 2 repetitions and then we'll break it down. Okay, good. So we're in the same starting position as we've gone through before. So stable chair, it's not on wheels, it's not going to go anywhere. Jenna's sitting towards the front half of the chair. Knees are underneath the hips, so legs are in a straight line. Nice upright posture, head, shoulders, hips in a straight line. And then Jenna's going to bring her arms by her head, and then she tilts back a little bit, and then she's going to crunch forward, and then back to neutral, and then back a little bit, and then crunch forward again. Good. Okay, so with this one, sets, reps, time, and intensity, and purpose. Sets are 1, repetitions are 10, time, smooth controlled movement with a good contraction at the end. The intensity, it'll be light to moderate, and the purpose of this one is another exercise that targets the core. This one is specifically targeting rectus abdominis or six-pack muscle. So we're kind of building on the exercise before that addressed the core and adding another core exercise to kind of help build things up more when it comes to improving your activation, endurance, and strength in your abdominal area. Okay, moving on to the next one. So the fourth one is forward reach with resistance. All right, I'll get Jenna to do 2 repetitions. Okay, good. So same starting position, sitting in the stable chair. Jenna's moved to the front half. Legs are underneath the hips, sitting nice and tall. Jenna's going to interlace her fingers, have them out front. Then she's going to reach forward with the hands, move at the hips, try to keep the upper body in a nice straight line, and then come back to the start, and then move into the next repetition. Good. Now looking at the sets, reps, time, and intensity for this one. Sets would be 1, repetitions would be 10, time would be smooth controlled movement with a good stop at the end position. Intensity is going to be light to moderate, and the purpose of this exercise is a couple fold, targeting to loosen up the hips. Second one is to work on that core and abdominal area, and third is to work on retraining your brain to have a better understanding of where your body is in space. So if we can work on training the brain to improve whole body balance, that'll decrease your likelihood of having poor balance, falling, or losing your balance. So it's kind of an important exercise to do. Now, we can add resistance. So you can add resistance. So with this exercise, a progression that you can do is you can bring resistance into your hands. So Jenna's utilizing a medicine ball, but you can utilize like a dumbbell, whatever you have around the house, like a water bottle, cans of soup, etc. So that's one way that you can end up progressing it. Other things to remember is you can decrease how far you reach forward. So with this, the one before, the seated sit-up, you can just go with the range that you're able to do. So we'll regress back to the seated sit-up. So you can just you can decrease how far back you go or how far forward you go. To go to the level that you're able to do. Also, if you're not able to bring your hands up towards your shoulders because you don't have the range of motion to do that, it's fine. You can just cross your arms and go through the movement. And then still, if that's still too difficult, you can put your hands on your thighs or to the side and go through the movement. A little bit back and then move forward. So you can just pick whichever one is perfect for you. Now moving to the next, so looking at that the forward reach with resistance, it would be the same thing. You could limit how far forward you go and build up to moving more and more forward. But stick with the range where it feels like your body's being challenged, but you're not having too much strain in your low back area, or you don't feel unsafe that you're gonna lose your balance in a sitting position. Okay, now moving to the next one. So number 5, seated around the world pass. Okay, now did you want this one or that one, or it doesn't matter? So with this one, just like with the other one before, you can go with nothing, or you can go with a ball. This is like a Pilates ball, but you can utilize whatever you have: tennis ball, basketball, soccer ball. Even if you don't have any of those things, something that you can pass around your back. So kind of going through what Jenna had done, we're at the usual starting position, stable chair, kind of move towards the middle of the chair, or you can move a little bit further back in order to get the ball around the chair. Jenna's sitting nice and upright as you would, head, shoulders, hips in a straight alignment, and then you're going to pass the ball or whatever you have around and back to the front. Okay, now some regressions that you can end up doing is, if you're not able to go all the way around, you can just go to the side, and back to the middle, and then the other side, and back to the middle. So and with that one, you can utilize the ball, you can utilize some sort of a loaded resistance, so a dumbbell, to go through that movement. And pick whatever range that you're able to do. If you're only able to go from straight ahead to a little bit to the side and back to the center, and a little bit to the side, that's perfect. And try to build towards being able to go all the way around or pass something around your back one direction and then pass it back the other direction. So with this one, looking at the sets, reps, time, and intensity, sets are 1, repetitions are 10, time is smooth controlled movement with a good stop at the end position, intensity is light to moderate, and the purpose of this exercise is to work on that whole upper body balance. Plus, what we're working on is targeting that core, activating that core, but activating that core more in a twisting and rotating plane or fashion, and then also working on improving your input when it comes to where things are in space. So if you look with balance, a big part of balance is visual input. So seeing things and getting input from looking at something when it comes to your brain and balance. What we're adding with this is with the movement of the upper body around, we're training the brain in order to be more aware of where the body is in space, because a lot of times with falls, what happens is the brain loses awareness of where the body is in space, and then it ends up going too far forward or to one side, and then that increases the likelihood of losing your balance or even to a fall. Other things, like I was saying, that we're working on that core area, so another exercise that kind of targets the core. And then also we're trying to, so we've got visual input, we got like body awareness, and then also what we're doing is utilizing different inputs like the sensation of the hands in order to make us aware of where things are, and that also helps when it comes to improving balance. Okay, so that's 5 of them. Now moving on to the 6th one. This is Jenna's favorite. Seated half moon. Okay, good. So in that regular starting position for these exercises, stable chair, moving to the front half of the chair, legs underneath the hips, sitting nice and tall, head, shoulders, hips, in a straight line. Jenna's gonna move, interlace her fingers and then bring her arms overhead. Thumbs are together, fingers are straight, other fingers are interlaced. And then she's gonna bend to one side and back, and then bend to the other side and back. Perfect. Now options are, if you aren't able to bring your arms overhead, things that you can do, once again, we can cross the arms and we can bend to one side and back and the other side and back. Also, we can have the hands to the side or hands on the thighs and bending from one side to the other side. Perfect. Now, how far to bend? Bend to whatever range you can, but what you're roughly going to is like 45 degrees. If we look here, so yep, here, and then back, and then the other 45 and back. So go to the range that you can. That's what you want to work towards, but go to what range you can. Now looking at the sets, reps, time and intensity for this one, sets are 1, repetitions are 5, so 5 on each side, alternating back and forth for a total of 10. Intensity is light to moderate. Purpose of the exercise is we're working on that body awareness. So retraining the brain to be aware of where the body is in space. And then secondly, we're working on the core and abdominal area, and specifically the plane is side to side plane that we're targeting. Okay, moving on to the next exercise. This is number 7, and this one is seated knee raises. And I'll get Jenna to go through 2 repetitions. Okay, good. Same setup, stable chair, sitting on the front half of the chair, nice and tall head, shoulders, hips, legs are underneath the hips, and then you're tightening up that abdominal area and lifting one knee up and really trying to have the abdominal area lift up the knees. Then other side and back down. Okay, and then if this is too difficult, you can start by regressing how high you bring the knees up. So it can just be, just like a hand width off the ground as opposed to lifting the knee as high as you can. And then the other way that you can regress it is just we can just come onto the toes so we get some movement, but you're really trying to have that abdominal area be the one that lifts up that knee. Okay, now looking at the sets, reps, time and intensity. Sets would be 1, repetitions would be 5, so 5 on each side, alternating back and forth for a total of 10. Intensity is going to be light and moderate, and the purpose of this exercise is to target that abdominal core area, so have it, have good activation, endurance, and strength in that area. And what I mean by that is we want the abdominal area to activate or turn on. We want the endurance of that core area to be high, so meaning the muscles are able to work for a long period of time, as opposed to get fatigued and then not allow us to have control of our balance. And then the strength, so the strength would be, strength to do different movements, to have that as high and as strong as we can. So that's what we're doing with this exercise, number 7. Now moving on to number 8, this is seated ladder climb. Okay, so stable chair, having a seat, front half of the chair, nice and tall, head, shoulders, hips, legs are underneath the hips, and then Jenna is going to lift one knee and then the opposite arm and then the other side. Good. And then the modifications that you can make are very much like what with the exercise before, number 7, seated knee raises. What you can do is decrease how high you bring the foot up, but also decrease how high you bring the arm up if you don't have the range or strength to bring that arm overhead. And then the other regression that you can do, or modification, is once again, we can just go with it lifting on the toe, and just lowering the arms even more when it comes to the movements. Okay, looking at the sets, reps, time, and intensity for this one, sets would be 1, repetitions would be 5, 5 on each side, alternating back and forth, so a total of 10. Intensity is going to be light to moderate. Purpose of the exercise, we're working on that core, in order to work on the activation, endurance, and strength. And then secondly, we're working on the coordination. So trying to connect the brain to to move opposite parts of the body, and also to be aware of where those opposite parts of the body are in space in order to help with our balance. Okay, that's the 8th one. Now moving on to the 9th one, this seated marches. Okay, so same setup, stable chair, sitting on the front half of the chair, nice and tall, head, shoulders, hips, in a straight line, and then moving into that marching position. Good, so lifting like the one knee and then moving the opposite arm forward, and then alternating opposite knee up, opposite arm forward. Okay, looking at the sets, reps, time, and intensity for this one. Sets would be 1, repetitions would be 5 on each side, so alternating back and forth for a total of 10. Intensity is light to moderate, and the purpose of this one is building on that core, working the core, and then also building on that coordination and improving the brain's connection to our arms and legs, and to understand where they are in space in order to help when it comes to preventing losing your balance and falling. Okay, moving on to number 10. This is chair lifts or chair squats. Okay, so you pick whichever option it works best for you. So the chair lifts, we have the same setup, stable chair, moving to the front half of the chair, legs are underneath the hips, head, shoulders, hips are in a straight line. Jenna has her hands to the side of the chair, and then she's going to work on like lifting herself up or lifting her seat off the chair. And it's almost like the starting position of getting out of the chair, so from sitting to standing. How you can progress that and make that more challenging is to move off the chair into that squatting movement. Okay, and So pick whichever option works best for you, and then also you can modify each of them. If you're not able to lift your whole body weight off the chair, you can lift like 25% or 50% off the chair. And then same with the squat part. You can move all the way to standing, but you can also just move halfway and back down. Good. So you can just pick whichever level that works best for you with the exercise. Now, looking at the sets, reps, time, and intensity, sets are 1, repetitions would be 10, time, smooth controlled movement with a good stop at the end position. The intensity, sets, reps, time, we've got intensity is light to moderate. And the purpose of this exercise is to really work on that, improving that movement from sitting into standing, because that's kind of where we're transitioning to next, moving from that sitting to that standing position. So there you go. That marks stage 1 of the Balance Training Handbook. We've got the 10 exercises. What's going to follow next is a video with Jenna where she'll take you through the 10 exercises. Now, like I said, with this program, we've gone through the sets and reps of things. You'll be here until these exercises aren't as challenging. You can move to stage 2, or you'll roughly be at this stage for 2 to 4 weeks. You can do the exercises every day. I would suggest just once a day, not multiple times a day. And then when it comes to progressing the exercises or modifying the exercises, we've gone through a bunch of them here. Also, you can find your own progression or regression or modification, but also you can reach out to us by contacting us at support@exercisesforinjuries.com, and we can help you with any of the exercises and give you some modifications or progressions for each of the exercises. Also, when it comes to increasing the sets and the reps, take a look at the manual. In the manual, we talk about how you can progress the sets and reps if you're not at a point where you're ready to move on to stage 2. So that's it for me. This is Rick Cassells from exercisesforinjuries.com and Balance Training Handbook saying take care and bye-bye.